All right, let's have a look at how to get rid of the AC on a 3-liter. Now, if I was building this car to sell, I would leave the AC on and I would recharge it and make sure everything's running properly with it. But for a car that's just gonna be for me, I'd rather drive with the windows down and the sunroof open anyways. So I'm gonna ditch all that hardware and save a bit of weight and then free up the engine bay as well, so I have a little bit more space there. So let's have a look at what we need to do. So it's real easy for me because I just had the motor out and I haven't hooked everything back up again and I don't have the front clip on the car. But you'll be able to do all this stuff yourself as well. There's just gonna be a couple of different steps depending on how much of the hardware you wanna get rid of or not. So the easy thing, if you want to leave your AC compressor where it is, and you want to leave your condenser in front of the rad and leave your dryer over on the passenger side of the car and all of your piping and everything, is just going to be to remove this belt and put a shorter belt on that's going to run from this pulley through here and just back up to the power steering. So I'll show you the part number in a minute for that belt, but that's the easiest way if you've got an AC compressor that's on its way out, it's making a lot of noise or isn't working properly, and you just want to bypass it for simplicity's sake. So to do that, all you're going to do is relieve the tension on your belt, slip it off, and then throw your shorter belt on and you're done. Now in my case, I want to remove this AC compressor completely. It'll just make the engine bay a little bit easier to navigate when I'm working on some stuff, and it'll save me a bit of weight. Now if you are working on your car, you're going to have to remove the hard lines that hook up to the compressor here. Mine are already off because I took them off when I was pulling the motor. But basically you've got two Torx head bolts back here on the compressor, and you pull those bolts out and then your hard lines will be free. You could wiggle them out. And once their hard lines are undone on the other end, you can remove that hard line completely. In my case, they're already off, so I just have to unhook my electrical connection, and then there's 3 bolts that hold the compressor to the bracket. There's 1, 2 in the front here, and then there's a 3rd one just towards the back of the compressor, sort of in line with this bolt. So I'm gonna undo those 3, and then I should be able to pull that whole compressor out. So I've undone my 3 bolts and unhooked my electrical connection. And now I should be able to just pull my compressor out. Now you can see here, this plug, as soon as I touched it, just disintegrated. So this pump was not in the best condition to begin with. You can see here your 2 connections for your hard lines and your bolts to go with that. It's a little bit more obvious now that it's out of the car. So if you're poking around under there looking for your connections, that's where they are on the pump. And that's about it. I'm going to have a look and see if I can pull this bracket out. I think the bracket's just a couple of nuts here, and I should be able to pull this whole plate off to save a little bit of extra weight as well, because, you know, race car. So I've got all my hardware out. It ended up being a couple of nuts here in the front holding it up and a bolt in the back of the bracket as well. So now I can just pull this guy out. You can see there's where the 2 nuts were and the bolt in the back. And that's how easy it is to remove your AC compressor. Only thing left to do, I'm going to take this electrical connector and tie it back so it's out of the way and doesn't flop around while I'm driving. And then I'm going to remove some of the other components. The hard lines are already out, so I've just got to remove the dryer and cap my evaporator, and we'll be good to go. Now, as far as removing the dryer and the hard lines, the dryer's located here on the right-hand side of the car, the passenger side, and basically you've got one hard line coming from the compressor that goes into the top of it. You have another hard line that goes up to the firewall, and this line here is coming from your condenser, which would normally be at the front of the car here. So you've got 3 bolts holding this dryer on, and then you need to come up to your firewall and remove, there's 1 nut that holds this little clamp to your hard lines. And once that nut's off and you've got your dryer unbolted from the chassis, you can just pull that out and remove the whole assembly. Now, you'll notice I've got a couple of plugs in there, and that's just to keep water out of that when I'm driving around so it doesn't freeze and then I end up with water in the interior. When you start looking at all these components, it adds up a little bit. This thing's very heavy. This bracket weighs a bit, some hardware, all of this stuff, even though it's aluminum, most of it. adds up to a few pounds. So that's free horsepower. I just got my shorter belt in the mail. The one I got was from Gates. It's a K060651. So if you want to order one, that's the part number you want to look for. But if you want to order one from a different brand, the number you're going to use is the 6PK1655. That'll get you the same thing, the same type of belt, number of ribs, length, all that stuff for the AC delete. So we're going to throw this one on and see how it fits. All we need here is our 19 mil wrench and our belt. I'm just going to start it off on a couple of the bigger pulleys. And then I'm going to compress my tensioner and throw it on my alternator pulley here. And that's all there is to it. AC deleted. And that's it for this episode. Make sure to tune in next time. We're actually going to have a look at these downpipes. I've just ordered a couple of pieces that I need. I've ordered some V-bands for the end of them and some O2 sensor bungs that I still need to put in them before I put them on the car. But we're going to have a look at how I made these next time.